Yeah.
Calling meeting to order at 7:04 evening. Representatives Dean Shinbrot is virtual. Senator Fritchie, Gardner, Norman, Pulaski, and Powers are here. Representative Umbris is excused. We have 5 items on our agenda tonight. I'd like to start off with 3.3, the Recreation Trails Grant with Director Barry here. Answer any of our questions. We can turn to that.
Page 25.
Yes.
Yep.
Mark, are you on?
The other town ground.
I was just playing.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Technical difficulty.
Yeah, operator error.
Resolution, please.
Resolution Connecticut Recreational Trails Grant. Whereas Parks and Recreation Department applied for the Connecticut Recreational Trails Grant from the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And whereas the grant will be utilized for renovations to the Cotton Family Park Trail by widening sections of existing trails and to mitigate drainage issues. And whereas the grant will also fund a phone application for those blind and visually impaired to be able to navigate the trails and a wheelchair designed to navigate the terrain. Now therefore be it resolved, the town manager, John Burt, on behalf of the town of Groton, may execute any and all documents necessary to satisfy the grant through the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and for Environmental Protection of the Cotton Family Park Trail, except the grant in the amount of $143,000 and refer the item to the RTM per Rule 6.5.3.
Thank you. I'll open the floor up for any questions. Maybe Director Barry can give us a little background as to what the total cost is going to be for us. How much the grant is going to help in order to provide for this app.
Sure. So we began making renovations to the Cott Family Park in 2017 through the same funding source, Recreation Trails Grant. We started by widening the entrance and also constructing a bridge just past the dog park. And the work that's proposed for this round is to continue expanding the trail past the dog park all the way out to the bridge and continue that work beyond the bridge. The long-term goal is to create an entire loop. For any of those of you that have hiked out on the Cott property, there's a yellow trail which loops around the entire, which loops all the way back to the entrance. And our eventual goal is to have that entire trail converted so that it is much more accessible. The work that's involved is doing some excavation and then putting down stone dust, which is similar to the path at Pequannock Plains Park. So it holds up very well and is much easier to navigate for anybody. And so that's our long-term goal is to complete that loop and make it more accessible for everybody. Fortunately, most of the trail is pretty flat, so that works in our favor in our goal of making this accessible. The other part of the grant that the money that we have received is to actually purchase a wheelchair that is designed to go on trails. And our intention is to make that wheelchair available to any Groton resident that would need mobile assistance to navigate a trail. And it's not to be used just out at the Cott property. But there are other trails in town that could be navigated using this particular wheelchair that's designed to go on trails. And our intention would be to have that available. We probably would keep it at Spicer House, and people could sign up to use it. There'd be a security deposit. We would check it out and check it in when it comes back, just to make sure that it's still operating properly. And then the third part of the grant was we have been working with some software developers. This was a project that was originally started by Microsoft, and after at some point there was a business decision made that they weren't going to continue to support the development of this particular software. So they put it out and made it open source. And a group of developers, software developers, took that and have continued to develop it. And we've actually been working with them. We brought in the Southeast Connecticut Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired and had them utilize a beta version of this at Pequonnet Plains Park. And they provided feedback to the developers, and the developers incorporated some of their suggestions into the further refinement of the software. So it would also include the purchase of software that will allow blind and visually impaired to be able to more easily navigate on a trail. And it's not actually, it wouldn't be just at the COP property. We can actually develop trails that the blind and visually impaired could download onto their phone through an app and utilize that to walk in other places. So we've already created one for Pequonnet Plains Park. That's what we did when we tested it with that group of folks. And so wherever we set up a trail, folks will be able to download that and utilize that to assist them while they're out hiking. And one of the other components of this is it also allows you to add a narrative. So we could potentially include a narrative with the software that when somebody that's blind or visually impaired comes up to a particular area, the narrative would explain what what they're either hearing, if it was near a brook, or what they're smelling, if it was near a patch of fragrant flowers, or just provide a narrative like a history of, say, the Kopp family park, or a history of whatever particular area we choose to develop these trails with. So that's kind of the three components of this particular grant. It fits in with a couple of our pillars of service, health and wellness. We're encouraging folks to get out and utilize the trails. And it's also an equity pillar that the department has in just trying to make things more accessible for everybody.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Wonderful job. Representative Fritchie said you had a question.
Okay. You know the cops neighbor.
Out.
And the family, what great things they did, and everything else. I have a concern that applies to many remote areas everywhere. Okay? And that is illegal activity becomes common where others. So I was wondering the study they did on one, like the cars and all of that. But the camera that, measured everything and sent back. And I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea make sure that illegal activity is avoided. And, we have a way. Second thing is, I don't know what current use they have there. There's a lot of money, so I don't really care if there's a big platform. But, hopefully we'll feel safe that, people walking in these things. They don't have to deal with illegal activity. So
People are pretty quick though, if they come across stuff. We don't have a lot of that type of thing. Plus, when you extend trails, you get more people out, makes it safer by getting more people
yeah,
out
I
there.
think that's great. Just getting nervous. Things I've seen and not discuss them, but not there, but in remote areas.
It's well noted. Thank you.
Obviously, or
Yeah.
things.
Representative
I
Platt.
like. I really feel that especially since we're encouraging the visually impaired to go into a remote area without cameras, that anybody that thought about it that was perfectly intent might look at that as a very nice place to rob somebody and not be seen. And even worse if they're vulnerable like that.
Representative,
Remote place with Maserati in it. Said to myself, okay. You know what's going on here.
Representative Norman.
An exchange is going on, blah, blah. That guy's got some money. No, I'm
Okay,
kidding, but,
We get the visual, okay? We get it.
Just to make it.
I see two things. I think that this is pretty exciting. Taking out like best and saw, I ran across a group of hikers all in wheelchairs. Like, gosh, that would be so cool. They were like redwoods and stuff, like to have that kind of opportunity. And that out to our town. I also think for COP, you should walk. I probably go to this because I have dogs, those trails. Twice a week. I think the biggest activity that people are most stressed about is people putting their dogs off leash in Cop Park is the biggest point of contention. And I think for a place to start and sort of expand this out, I've never run across any. I let my 3-year-old run far ahead of me. Go adventure.
I can tell you another thing.
Let's, yeah, they're cooking stuff. We don't live in that area. Okay, but I understand what you're saying. Duly noted.
Place where my father was murdered is currently a conservation area. And there is no camera, and if someone was doing something illegal back in there and somebody ran into an old man, he'd get murdered, and we never solved that one either.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've made note of what you're saying, and I think that that's something that we can discuss, but this is pretty much, I think, a straightforward improvement for our trails program. And I like the whole idea that, handicapped people are able to use the trails. Representative Gardner, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I mean, obviously, I don't hike many trails. All you have to do is look at me and tell that.
Okay,
But
you can learn.
but I think that this is a great idea. Any improvement, any grant we can get, the trails in Groton, make them more accessible, is fantastic. And, should we think about safety going forward? Sure, but I don't see how that should impact this.
Representative Dean Shinbrut, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I just listen to everyone else. You all have great ideas and comments.
Thank you so much for attending.
We have only the one wheelchair. Or why not two?
And they're trying out for about
Yeah.
5,000 each.
I think we just,
Well, I understand
Yeah,
that, but quite often you've got, like you said, there's a group of wheelchair people. And at least two would, but
I do
to at
believe,
least plan.
My
for the
understanding is,
future.
the trails that are the focus, and then usually leftover money to do these other things, so
Yeah, of
there's
course,
no,
it's just
there's just
kind
no money there beyond that. I think.
Yeah, I understand that, but I hope you'll plan in the future for a second one at least.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be in a situation where we can't meet the demand and a second wheelchair is necessary. But I feel like one wheelchair is a good place to start. And then we can continue to grow the program if the demand is there. And so I think that's a strategic process for us to take.
Susan.
Yeah,
Dean
just-
Shin-
I just have a quick question for Mark. Does any other town have a wheelchair access trail system or a wheelchair that they can borrow from their parks and Rec?
You know, that's a great question, and I actually got an email from someone from the Parks and Recreation Department in Norwich, and they are going through the same process as we are, looking at, they have funding available for a wheelchair designed for trails. And so those are the only two that I'm aware of. Our manager of Parks and Open Space, Tabitha Wilson, is actually going to a workshop on trail accessible equipment in just a couple of weeks. And I think that will be a great opportunity for us to see what other communities are doing and take away some of the best management practices from some of those other communities and apply those to what we're going to be doing here in Groton.
I think that's great. I'm always amazed at how with little money we can do so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mark, is there Wi-Fi there? Would there be with the trails and all the different stuff? You know, as far as, you know, the handicapped, the blind, and what will we have access to?
Yeah, there is no Wi-Fi out there. Yeah, we don't have Wi-Fi in most of our parks. I'm not sure that we have Wi-Fi in any of our parks.
Only
Yeah.
meeting where their cell phone would work.
It's good to know.
And
Oh
that-
yeah, cell phones. Yes, cell phones work out there. Yes.
If they get in trouble, they call somebody.
Oh yeah, I've actually got a call one time a few years ago from a distressed hiker who somehow had gotten lost out in the cop property. That actually surprises me because just about anywhere you go, you can hear the traffic on 184. So, but you know, I do quite a bit of hiking, and this person obviously it was new to them, and we were able to successfully get them out of the park and back into the parking lot and to their car.
On a different thing.
He can't hear you, Al.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm picking up about 5% of what you're saying.
And a similar thing happened to me in Mystic where a guy got lost on the Pequot trails and got off and he didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
Actually, a ride back to his truck.
Yeah, and we have taken steps over the last couple of years to, well, we've done a few different things. The trails in all of the different parks are available on the town webpage that you can download and kind of follow those. There's also other apps that are out there called All Trails and some other things And we've also put a really large map at the entrance to the park. It used to be there was numerous yellow trails, and so we went back in and just made one yellow trail, and we used different colors for different trails. So each trail has its own unique color, which I think helps considerably when people are out hiking. And we've also put directional arrows that are color coded to the trail they're on. And each trail, in addition to having blazes, at the trailhead has a colored marker so that people are aware of what trail they're on. So we've taken a number of steps to make people feel more comfortable while they're out hiking, and make it easier for them to navigate throughout the COP property.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0. Thank you very much, Director Barry. Appreciate all
Thank
your
you.
hard.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
Yeah, we'll see you at the RTM meeting. I'm sure somebody will
Oh,
ask
yeah,
you.
when is that, if I may?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
Next Wednesday? Okay,
Thank
all right,
you.
terrific. Thank you. Yeah, good night.
Good night. Next up, we're gonna skip to 3.2, the Groton Housing Authority American Rescue Plan request. This nice man here is, come on up, Rob. Sit down. Gonna ask Representative Norman, read this in.
Solution to approve funding from request to Groton Housing. Whereas the town of Groton was the recipient of one public law. Previously set aside $700 the Groton Housing Authority sewer and broadband work at Groton Gardens needed, and whereas the Groton Housing Authority has revised the request to $375,000 for work at Pequot Village. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town council approves $375,864 to be utilized for field work at Pequot Village and refer to the item 5 point. Motion.
Questions here? Before, Rob?
That opens up some money for other projects, which we have to commit all money by the end of the year, so you'll be seeing something soon.
Is there going to be a later project for broadband there?
So we do have. We're also looking there. So this project is very important. Pipes. Water.
Prioritize first. But the other stuff may be coming later.
Pipes come out of alignment due to just wear and tear, or was there a particular issue? And if there was, is that issue solved by this?
These are old clay pipes. The first part of this project was basically a large rotor of water blast road. Same time that blasted it out. Picture of all the pipes with it. Be able to see all the information. Second part of this is there's a catalyst pipe going through it, relining it. So it'll last about 40 months. Pretty
cheap way, inexpensive way of preserving there now. But it's-
What is the total cost?
It's the $300,000.
Yeah, so the whole, we set aside 795,000 budget. We're gonna use 300,000 of it. So there'll be a balance, Jim?
Yeah, about 419,000 and change. And we have, like I mentioned, you have to have all money spent by the end of 2026, but you have to have it committed by the end of 24.
Okay, so
So,
we have
yeah,
to
you have to
commit the
sign
rest
it
of that.
somewhere by the end of the year, yeah.
That's what I really want.
Get stuck with those.
Yes.
No, it's not about figuring, it's what we need to do. That's just, I mean, and this is.
Right
great.
area, saw this in there, where Sutton Park stuff.
Just to, if you don't mind, I'll add to it. Problem is the sewer line, because of the getting clogged and resident.
Back into that. Clay pipe is like absolute, that's understandable. Realize they put in so much. Withstand so much more than we have. Water that's clay material. It's pretty self-explanatory. Great that you're here. Yep. Do you have any more questions? Representative Dean Shinbrod, any questions?
None, thank you.
Okay. Senator Fritchie, good. Gardner? Everybody's good, okay. I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no abstentions, that passes. Pretty good. Thank you very much, Ron. You have a nice evening. Yep. Okay, that was pretty self-explanatory. All right, on to what we'd like to do next. You want to go back in order? Go to the defense one. We're gonna do the Department of Defense grant. Senator Gardner, you want to read this in? You hear that?
Sure. Resolution endorsing staff participation in the grant application and authorizes the town manager to sign all grant agreements and MOUs, intergovernmental agreements with SCCOG for the administration and implementation of the grant. Whereas the SCCOG, in conjunction with the federal government, is seeking to continue to implement the recommendations of the Joint Land Use Study for Subbase New London from 2017, and whereas the Department of Defense provides grants to state and local governments to conduct these projects to support the long-term sustainability and operability of the military installation complex, and whereas the grant application requests 2 integrated principal projects to continue advancing military readiness that is compatible with host and neighbor communities in the southeastern Connecticut region in the face of significant community economic development and housing needs and pressures. And whereas the SCCOG is requesting support from the Department of Defense to accomplish an update of the existing subbase New London JLUS to a current compatible use plan that reflects present needs and data and an expanded purview covering additional dimensions of mutual support between the base and surrounding communities. And whereas the continued and escalated competition for basic regional services and facilities, in particular the housing crisis in the region surrounding the base, SCCOG and project partners also request an updated geography of analysis and the compatible use plan to include the city of Norwich and towns of Preston, East Lyme, and Stonington, a total area of 292 square miles. And whereas a second part of the grant requests that SCCOG and the town of Groton are requesting a specific deep dive evaluation of the housing needs for the town of Groton, the principal location of Subbase New London, and support for a program of intensive community engagement with Groton residents and stakeholders to identify real, politically viable solutions to the local housing crisis that will provide more housing opportunity and affordability to both military and civilian constituencies of Subbase New London. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council endorses staff's participation in the grant application and authorizes the town manager to sign all agreements and necessary MOUs, intergovernmental agreements with the SCCOG for the administration and implementation of the grant in the anticipated amount of $350,000 and refer the matter to the RTM per Rule 6.5.3.
Thank you. Okay, John, you can answer all questions, okay?
Sure.
I think it's pretty, some of us that have been around, for those that have, are not new to this. This is a great study, it's a great grant to get, it gives us some guidance on all kinds of things.
Inside this, us pursuing, we're working on different projects with the sub base of the Navy. And it's kind of come out of discussions with them about their needs, you know, major concern. Maybe about 6,400 units. You'll see page 5 and starting in page 20. They list all the deliverables, and there's a wide variety of deliverables from, especially if you look at page 20 on the starting H2, the updated future housing demand and supply, the resident housing survey, the employer housing survey, community outreach and engagement, the build out scenarios, opportunity sites, financial feasibility modeling to help identify funding for some things. They're going to look, you know, at several residential projects, identify some commercial, there's some multifamily type of locations. There's a lot to this. So the COG will receive the dollars, but we'll, you know, they have their main projects for the CUP, the GLS update, and then we'll, you know, flow through them to us for the 350,000 for the deep dive locally.
So when they do come out with this report, and I remember going to some meetings about this, it's open to the public once they come up with their study results.
Yeah, there's gonna be so many public
Forums
communications
too.
and forums, and not just traditional, to do a wide variety of things. They want to get all sorts of people. They reach out to businesses and surveys to the property owners, and yeah, it's gonna be very involved. It's an 18-month process. Both the grants will go simultaneous. The one as well as ours will go at the same time.
Great. Representative Norman.
I think here that one of their changes, which is they will work on drafting the planning regulatory amendments. That it says here that they desire changes of the community. Is that on behalf and what the Department of Defense would like the community to adjust to for zoning regulations, or is that based off of the community surveys?
It's primarily the community surveys. They're not gonna do, you know, it'll be coming to a joint conclusion. It's a joint hand-in-hand process. They're not gonna.
So you are not concerned
And plus,
that
remember, we're leading
they
it.
will push
No,
some
no.
amendments that you disagree with?
No,
We'll have to go through our poll.
but there are some things we can
Good
definitely,
question.
there are some things we can improve in our zone. But part of it is getting buy-in from the community on newer ways of doing it.
Are they going to coordinate this plan? City has a resilient plan, and I'm sure that town, if it doesn't have one, will.
You know, and that was part of, I know, the original JLS too, is making sure that whatever's done, especially the, you know, a lot of this is focusing about on the basin. EV, but it's benefit to all of us, but one of their biggest things is making sure things are healthy for their personnel and there's good living for everyone, so yes. And they usually gather all these relevant documents to incorporate and review as part of these processes. They're very thorough.
I have a very big baseline of information they start.
Yes, they do.
And really truly understand it, and I don't understand all of it, but I do understand the process of it. We do have a lot to say, and every community does, because it's not just us, it's all of southeastern Connecticut, read what they're doing. And they focus on what the needs are of the Navy in order for the base to stay open. And for every town, and especially our community, it's imperative that we follow some of their guidance. We don't follow all of it, and we have our own zoning regulations that apply to a lot of the things that they do. But the interaction between the community and the businesses and what the base needs are for housing, it's a lot, and it fits in have to remember we have the Planet Conservation and Development that's going on this year. And we have other studies that we found. We did a blue ribbon study. We just did another study through economic community development, which basically told us what our needs are going to look like in the future. And that's a great item to have where we are getting a grant for that.
Well, nice that, you know, we don't have a ton of money here, the federal government does. So it'd be nice if we could tap into some of their money.
It's nice to look very quiet if they come after us with another brack, because we've been through that several times.
Only the last one was.
Yes. Yep.
I sat through, not was part of it, but when this study came out. And follow up to that study was being, I believe, I don't know where it was, do you remember that? But it was upturned and turned down and said, no, not, you know, that it was refuted and said, no, we don't need that. Now, as electric voters expanded, there's a national, after 2007, got into the COVID. And that brought a whole new group of people to the area. And
House
they
prices
just-
were down at 17, now they're,
Yeah.
rents up by 19%,
Yeah.
that's the last year.
And the exodus out of city, and even that's slowing down, and housing prices are coming down. They really are. I don't know that in our area, but they really are coming down. Looking at my sunlight out in Seattle, and that's their house, outrageously. But the point is, we when we maxed out, tried nuclear sub. 25,000. In London, here, in these cities. Well, I don't know what their goal is, something 15,000 compared to, but we certainly had this happen. When we found out, it was during the 70s, a little bit of an economic crisis. Maybe there was a lot of it, but now there isn't a lot of it available. Yeah. So, and they can't afford, nobody can afford these COVID pumped up housing prices of the exodus out of the big cities, making a ton of money coming down here and buying of what are cheap to them. That's very expensive to the working. So I'm not sure what they do on this. I'm not sure. I trust that they turned it upside down and said, no, they did a special meeting, talked it out, and we don't really. But there's a lot more information available. Nor would you think of me that they have it available.
Not anymore.
And now they have it.
Yeah.
But again, not because
And we just need numbers in every category of housing, the more we have, the cheaper it'll be.
The more affordable it is, that's what you're looking at.
Exactly the last, after the 74 million baby boomers were expected to live maybe to 80. And that would be good, that would be an improvement. Pass through the largest single, sine wave went through, going through the country for the last 50 years, 70 years. And when that goes backwards, and I'm sure it's the only thing we're going to be doing is trying to import people from other countries. So you go through and look at the economics. I don't want to make this about that, but I really know. I don't know exactly how to solve the problem, but if we think that we need to in Groton go and build large complexes like we're already building, taking that, what was it,
Steelers School, yes.
Yeah.
Train Square,
and converting that to what?
300,
units?
just over like 304 or so.
Yeah. So, and then, but.
And they're filling up like,
more of those
yeah.
to make up the difference. I think that's, that's gonna crowd us out and it's gonna be harmful to Groton. When other towns still have population shortages well below ours and and actually more land available than we have, given that, I think out of the 42 square miles, 34 of it aren't water. You know, and there's like 6 square miles of water in their numbers. So we don't have that big a town. Those are much bigger land and much lower population rate.
Much of our north has restrictions on sewer that the state have put on, so you know, you can't do a lot of large scale stuff in the north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. No.
Yeah, there's lots of things that you can't do. That
Yeah.
You think there's a lot of land north of here and there really isn't, because there's conservative land, there's farm preservation that goes on, there's conservation land. Everything's a well and a septic. To build and to
Not
bring in the
tunnels,
infrastructure
yeah.
to a community outside of that, it costs developers hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to do it, just so you
How
know.
come back in the 70s, we had 25,000 people suddenly go from 7,500, over 5,000 people to 25,000. In basically the from early 70s through mid 80s. And then General Dynamics went, okay, thank you very much, we'll see you later, and get out of here. And dropped it back down to 70.
Part of what you've seen though also is smaller household sizes, meaning you need more houses. They're much smaller.
They're
People are
totally
waiting.
different houses.
Yeah,
They're not even close. You know, that's why the values
people
are
are
what they
waiting
are.
to well into their 30s to get married now. Even if it was
Right.
married.
They're going home to live because the house is so
Everything's
big.
really changing. They're scared to death about the cost of living and the kids and everything. Now,
Hopefully at least we get a few good ideas.
It's not overall strategy, I don't have no like large apartments, especially made out of wood. Different New York City where they're all cement and everything like that, and you live in an apartment, you don't listen to your neighbors. You got your own place, your private place, it's safe, they usually have somebody at the door making sure the people come in. They don't play loud music doesn't go, marijuana smoke doesn't go. And that is
Right,
one of the
okay,
problems in other areas.
we're going a little bit
Thanks,
off topic.
Triton's pretty nice.
Representative Gardner, what would you like to ask?
So-
I don't believe it. You want to support it? So I just wanted to be aware that, you know, this thing is not simple.
No.
It's not simple. And solving it is not gonna be easy, but the best solution is when my generation and yours, Sean, pass along.
It's okay,
You know,
we're gonna get there.
and it's gonna happen, and then it's.
Well,
gonna be an
Representative
excess
Gardner
of
needs to
housing,
be,
and everybody's
he
gonna
needs
say,
to ask a
"How do you
question.
do it all?"
Can we have him ask a question?
So if I'm reading correctly, it looks like the, monetarily, the town contribution, the matching funds, if you will, is just gonna be staff time.
Correct. There's no monetary.
That is a really good deal. And we, you know, there's definitely, nobody can argue with the fact that there is a housing crisis right now. We need this badly. And I realize that some of it's gonna be the needs of the military, but I support that too, being a Navy veteran. And, you know, we all need to work together, we're all on the same team here. So I do support this grant. I will say that, my wife and I have been looking to buy a house in this area since February. Prices have not gone down. Interest rates are still up. And the only houses where prices have gone down needed so much work that the actual cost of being able to live in the house is far higher than the asking price. And people are still paying over asking for those houses. So, yeah, we definitely, anything we can do to try and address this housing crisis while we wait for the economy to address it naturally. I'm all for it. And since the town doesn't really have to put any money into this, just staff time that they would be paying anyway. I support it.
Representative Dean Shinbrod, any questions?
Representative Gardner, there may be a house coming up for sale on my street, and if it does, I will let you know. I'd love to have you as a neighbor.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's it.
Last,
Only one thing. They speak a great deal about regulations and stuff. But if the military buys, say, our school, once we want to get rid of, for $1 and so forth, are they subject to our regulations because the state of Connecticut is not.
Right. I don't think they are, but they're not looking at buying, they're not looking to build land, apartments and stuff on their land. They're helping us figure out, the private industry, figure out what. So they're not looking to build more stuff at this
They were given what, 2,200
I
acres?
don't know.
Yeah,
point. I mean, it's
yeah.
great, but I missed the property taxes.
Right.
Well, it's just that if you wanted to get rid
Yeah.
of one of the schools and get houses, you let the military have it for $1 or whatever, do what UConn is doing.
Yeah.
And it's avoiding wetlands and resilience plan and everything else. Not happy about that, but really there's.
Personally, I don't see the military, like John said, building houses. That's the first
Well,
thing.
they've done it before.
I'm not saying that they haven't, but I do know what they did around me. And what they did is, they own the land. They sell out the housing rights for 99 years to other companies. They don't pay for the buildings, other companies pay. All the buildings above me were condemned, all officer housing and everything, when I moved in '97. They went up there and they go all away. Company that came in built the properties. They leased the land from the federal government. John knows more about this agreement that they
Well,
have.
this is pretty much what UConn is planning to do, and the result is the developer has no regulations.
But
Which
the
is why
land
it
is
becomes-
state land, that's different.
Unless you
Right.
kind of wants to build things into the
Right.
agreement, just like if we sold a school, let's say, the federal government wanted to buy one of our piece of
Yes.
property, the sale agreement would say you're gonna pay this much in owing taxes per year, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do
And
that.
that's,
And you wanna buy it, this is what our rules are.
yeah, you can put a requirement on it, but if you wanted to get housing there, UConn seems to think this works.
I wouldn't, that's
Well,
not my
that's not
intent.
I know, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah.
We
if
can't
that-
go
if
on
that
for hours
procedure
about
would be
housing.
done, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, it's free information, and it makes us look very more robust heading towards a BRAC if they ever do that
Right.
again.
Good partners.
We're nice friends, neighbors.
Representative Dean Shinbrad.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hand down.
Oh, we like your hand. Thank you. Okay, do we have any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
I,
I,
Okay. No abstentions, no opposition, that grant passes.
No amendment for base name
Okay, so the next
change.
one
No
up
amendment
is
for
the,
base name change. There, I'll tell you.
we're gonna go on to the next one, which is 2024-756 nuclear safety emergency performance grant. Al, do you have that in front of you? Representative Pritchie, could you read that?
And just so people know, you can read just the results if you want, you don't have to read the whole
26.
thing.
Another reason. My rhapsody, 73. 7.3 billion nanoseconds. Oh,
Gotta talk into the mic though, please, for me, just so you can. I know you can do it.
and I start with the issue.
Resolution authorizing the acceptance of nuclear safety.
All right. This is a resolution authorizing acceptance of the Nuclear Safety Emergency Program grant. Whereas the town of Groton Department has applied for and received $70,000 full funding from the state of Connecticut Nuclear Safety Emergency Program, NSP. And whereas this funding will be used for an equipment upgrade in the backup capture room located next to the Emergency Operations Center. And whereas remaining grant funds will be applied to EMV salaries and will now therefore Be it resolved, the town council authorizes town manager, John Burke, to execute any and all documents on things deemed necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of the grant program. To accept the grant in the amount of $70,000 and refer the item to the RTM for Rule 6.5.
So move.
Second.
This is a grant we get every year. I think it's actually the budget for ballpark 65,000, but there was no expenditure budget set up yet. Has to be related to nuclear safety in some capacity. You have to make the connection to that. I don't know who's been in our training center, who's done a tour, but
I have, yeah,
yeah, right next to the little tiny back of this patch.
not very big.
No, it's not very big.
Emergency call center. And we have a lot of nuclear power here. You know, it's, my opinion, it's one of the best grants we can take on, and if there was more money to be had to have that separated from everything, the way, nuclear safety probably wouldn't even be in this town. Just the power plants, 10 miles. And submarine issues because they're in the water, so they're shielded in the water, but we have other things that are there.
In last year's grant, we did upgrades to the main dispatch, which we're
Right,
down to the
yep.
backup
So we're going
dispatch.
to the backup, yep. Very needed amount of money. Do you have any other questions for Manager Burke?
I do have a question. This talks about nuclear safety emergency program. It's, they're talking about the nuclear power updates and then Milton.
This is through Millstone.
It's just Milton?
Yeah.
Okay. It does not infer that anything related to the fact that we are ground zero in case of a war.
That's why we're here, Al, come on.
Yeah.
We don't want to live.
You might die, here's your 70,000.
We got a bond
Need a
shelter
lot
house
more
next
money
door.
than this. Wondering why.
Yeah.
That was like simple.
At least we get something from it.
We got it in this. We don't know what they have.
I have no idea. I'm not supposed to know.
See no other questions? Okay, oh,
This is the ignorance question.
if
If we have money left over, it goes to EMP salaries and drill supplies. What are those?
It'll be mostly, well, if you had to do, we have to put on a number of drills each year for one thing.
Okay,
But mostly it would go towards the emergency management division salaries if there's any left. Part of, for instance, the police chief's actually the emergency management director. The Captain B does a lot of the daily types of EMD stuff. And there's a couple other people involved, so it could go to any of the towards it, it's offset some of the salaries. I don't anticipate there'll be a lot left, but.
so does this give them a raise? Is this
No,
actually
no.
going to give them a
No,
raise?
it does not get change their salaries at all.
Well, it's a grant, so it's not,
It would
Well,
replace,
I know, but I mean,
if there's some left, it replaces tax dollars or frees up the tax dollars at the end of the year. Not permanently, it's a one-time,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I think there's a lot more that's
No.
involved.
I promise no raises involved.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever little money's trickled down to them, I'm sure it doesn't come half of the training they have to go through just to hold the positions they have the rest of the town, and now they're duly certified to do their jobs, basically. We're getting 2 for 1 in a lot of places.
Basically, we always put that in there. If there's any money, we just put it towards that. Just like last year, there wasn't.
Representative Dean Schimbrad, any questions?
No, I'm Gucci.
Guys, good. Ed Ronan, you good?
No.
Okay, seeing no questions, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, passes. Abstentions, no one saying no. Okay, we're on to the last item. Report Security Grant Program.
Resolution authorizing a port security grant. Whereas the police department has applied for and is scheduled to receive an $82,824 grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Port Security Grant Program. And whereas this funding is identified to replace the original two engines on the department's 2012 37-foot safe boat, age and number of hours in use. And whereas all public sector and non-governmental nonprofit ESGP award recipients, meaning recipients other than private for-profit, must provide a non-federal entity contribution supporting 25% of the total fall project costs as submitted in the application and approved in the award. And whereas this engine upgrade will allow the police department to continue to assist the United States Coast Guard as needed and to be prepared and equipped year-round and coordinated efforts in port security, including planned events and jurisdictional patrols of Long Island Sound, Port of New London Harbor, and adjacent local coastal waterways. Now therefore be it resolved that the town manager, John Burt, may execute any and all paperwork necessary to satisfy and to accept the grant in the amount of $82,824 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Port Security Grant Program, SGP, and to refer the item to the RTM per Rule 6.5.
And to point out, there is a 25% match once we have an exact amount for the engines. We'll see where we'll look at different sources. It could be ARPA, it could be something else. It could be Sam's backing it for the match. But we'll have to come up with it somewhere. But the engines do need replacing.
So we're looking at 82,000 for the motors alone.
Yeah. For the two, 41,000 each.
And that's our share.
25% would be our share. The total cost is estimated at 82,000.
Okay.
So 25% of that, yeah.
That's one.
Yeah, there could be some asset forfeiture dollars out there that we can add to ARPA, worst comes to worst.
Pretty good. And
And we get a lot of use.
75% discount. How can you beat that?
We get quite a lot of
Right?
use out of that boat.
Yeah, you do.
You'll see rescues quite a bit.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions, no oppositions, that passes. Thank you so much for attendance. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Representative Dean Schindrat, and I won't see you on a regular meeting, so but have a great meeting. Thank you for your attendance.
You be safe.
Yes, have a great
Night.
night. Thank you.
Good night.